All right, y'all. Got a piece of hair in my mouth. Let me get this YouTube chat set up real quick. Real quick. Make sure. Just want to tune in, man. I'm just trying to tune in. Real quick. Make sure. All right. Hold your horses, everybody. Hold your horses. We in here now. Just want to tune in, man. I'm just trying to tune in. Let's see here. Just looking at the chat real quick. Hold your horses, everybody. Hold your horses. We in here now. Oh. Okay, hold on now. Oh, okay, I see what happened. I got two screens that popped up. Let me see here. Google Hangouts. Can everybody see and hear me fine? Had to get rid of the echo real quick. I'm cutting in and out. It's laggy. Someone smoking crack. Okay, let me see if I could do anything about the lagginess. I'm not exactly sure why it's laggy and choppy. Give me 1 second. Cameraman show. I think there's an option in here to adjust the bandwidth. Adjust your bandwidth. Let's see. Ooh, that looks ugly. Is it better for y'all though? Keep in mind you can change your quality settings because it might be on 420. Okay, it's good now, or it's better, good enough. We can get going. Y'all just let me know if it's good enough to get going. Audio's good. Okay, Taryn's saying it's way better. I don't know why it's lagging. You know what? I think something's going on with my internet. I was originally going to do this on my cell phone, but for some reason I couldn't get my audio good enough. I'd rather have good audio than good video because audio is the most important part. So I don't know what to tell y'all, man. To be honest, I think it's just my internet here at the house. As long as the audio is good, we'll get started. All right. So most people are saying the audio is good. As long as the audio is good, it's fine. If you guys want to watch the playback, look, someone already disliked it. I already have a dislike. I didn't even do anything. All right, so today we're just going to briefly talk about how to get started with water fasting. So this is definitely for some of the newcomers. We've had quite an influx of newcomers to the group over the past couple of months. And you all have been sending me messages asking me how to get started with water fasting. So there's a couple things that I want to outline. Number one, I've got a ton of different platforms available. So if you guys are looking for more information, because probably the number one thing you could do to get started with water fasting is to educate yourself. It's literally the best thing you could do. I think probably the biggest problem I see is that people get really excited about fasting. They see the videos, they see everybody else is doing it, and they want to do it, and so they just jump out and they just do it. And that's probably, especially depending on the type of person you are, it could be very detrimental because you're gonna face a lot of things while you're fasting that you're not gonna understand. So, number one, you want to learn about detox symptoms. That's super important. And detox symptoms are it's super easy to understand. It's basically your body is expelling toxins, and so that it causes you to have reactions. Now, there's a lot of skeptics out there that I've met who are like, "Well, what are detox symptoms exactly? What exactly does that mean?" There's a lot of people out there who are they're going to try to persuade you that what you're doing is wrong or stupid. But I'm just going to keep it as simple as possible. You're pushing toxins out of the body. So you can also get detox symptoms from balancing hormones and chemicals in the body. You could get detox symptoms from balancing gut flora and stuff like that. these are these detox symptoms can range anywhere from a cough or dizziness to what might feel like the flu, right? We've got the aches and the pains all over, the joint pains, the muscle pains, stuff like that. So, um, oh my goodness, somebody's already asked me about electrolytes. um, okay, so since we're talking about detox symptoms, a lot of people mention that when you get detox symptoms, you need to take electrolytes. A lot of people will tell you that the reason you get detox symptoms is because you need to take electrolytes. That's just wrong. It's just not right. Okay. Here's the thing. Anytime that you're expelling toxicity from the body, your body's going to have a reaction to it, period. If you don't understand that, then you want to, like I said, you want to get more information. You want to learn. Fasting is not some magical, fluffy, feel good thing all the time. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it hurts, so um, you've got people who, let's see, even my stuff is really blurry. I don't know why it's so blurry. Somebody in my house must be doing something. Anyway, so here's the thing about electrolytes. People will fast for 1 day, 2 days, or even 3 days, and people will be telling them that they have an electrolyte deficiency. That doesn't even make sense that you have an electrolyte deficiency in 1 or 2 days of fasting. So if you have some sort of deficiency, you probably had it before you started fasting, right? You're not going to fast for 1 or 2 days and have an electrolyte deficiency. Even if you are following traditional wisdom, you're not going to have an electrolyte deficiency after 1 day, but you will often experience a headache, or you might experience some type of pain, joint pain or something like that. So we have to understand what's happening. That's the reason why education is so important. Um, but I have fasted for 30 days. I've had several people fast for longer than that, 40 days, 60 days, 90 days. And some people choose to use electrolytes, other people don't. But I'm telling you that I know people who have fasted for 40 days with no electrolytes. I know people who have fasted for 60, 90 days with no electrolytes. So when there's somebody who's telling you got to take electrolytes or you're going to die, and then on the other side you have plenty of people who do these fasts, and it's there's no electrolyte deficiency, then we gotta figure out what's going on there. I know I'm skipping, guys. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna reduce the quality one more time. I don't know why it's doing. I kind of know why. It's my internet. My internet at home's been acting up, so I'm gonna reduce it one more time and see if this makes it better. It's ugly. It's definitely ugly, but maybe it'll stop skipping. Let's see. So anyway, here's the other thing. People say that you gotta do salt. Salt is the big thing, right? Got to put salt in your water. Um, Sodium is what you all are trying to get from salt. Sodium. It's sodium. It's not the salt itself. Salt is an inorganic material. It's inorganic. So if you want to get sodium, if you're trying to get real electrolytes, I would suggest getting it from a plant, right? Something alive versus salt. Now I know you guys are gonna be like, but that breaks your fast. Well, putting salt in your water is not pure water fasting either. So if you're gonna do electrolytes, at least get it from a natural source. But there's many things you guys could do um, to help make your fast feel a little bit easier. Juice fasting is one of the ways people can take a pure water fast, and then what you do is you like supplement with juice, and then at least you're getting a natural form of electrolyte versus the inorganic stuff, which is it's natural, but it's like a rock. So anyway, I'm not here to tell people not to put salt in their water, and I'm not here to tell you not to use electrolytes. If that's what you feel comfortable doing, if you think that that's what you need to do, by all means do that. There's people who swear by putting salt and stuff in their water. Here's what I have found: over the long run, people who use salt in their water or electrolytes, especially because these are inorganic, oftentimes, they tend to have more loose skin at the end of the process. So there's a price that you pay for it. And that's up to y'all. If you want to put salt in it, if you want to put electrolytes because it makes your fast easier, it helps you not have the harsh detox symptoms. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, it's your journey. No one can tell you what to do or what not to do. I'm just letting you know you don't have to do it. And I'm also trying to get you to understand that there's consequences, right? Because it's not a pure water fast, and what you're doing is you're distracting from what the body is doing, the healing process, and by ingesting the salt, and it really just slows everything down. That's what makes it easier. It's the same thing if you did a juice fast. Juice fasting is easier than water fasting because you're really slowing down the detox process. So this is why understanding and learning is so important. I've done so many videos about electrolytes and stuff like that, especially if any of you all are the academy members. I did a whole long video on electrolytes. um, and so I understand the science. I understand what the science says, and I understand what all the gurus are saying out there. What I'm telling you is that they are wrong, and I know from personal experience. People who tell you that you got to use salt and electrolytes in your water probably haven't done multiple prolonged fasts without using that stuff because they believed you need to use it. So why would they even attempt fasting without it? I've never used it. I used it early on as a test just to try it because I wanted to see both sides of it. But other than just testing it or whatever, I never used it like on a regular basis. And none of my siblings have. So for those of you who know my siblings and their story, they haven't used it either. But there's some people who tell you you'll die if you don't use it. So that's the electrolyte thing. I'm not going to stay on it too much longer because I want to move on to other stuff. But number one is educating yourself, learning as much as you can about the process, and then uh, what you want to do is figure out what makes the most sense for you as far as how you can incorporate fasting into your life so that it's not disruptive. The one of the other big reasons why people stop fasting is because it disrupts their status quo. So if you're the type of person who goes out once a week with your friends and now you start fasting, you're going to get pressure from your friends. And if you don't have if you're not mentally strong, if you're not mentally ready to combat the negative attention you're going to be getting from your friends and family, you might fold. So you might say, okay, I'm going to fast for 2 weeks. You might say, I'm going to do a 14-day fast. And that's 2 weeks of partying that you typically would do with your friends. And now you're not. Well, you're going to have to deal with that whenever it's time to go out. They're gonna be like, yo, what's up, man? Going out this week? Oh no. And either you're gonna tell them you're fasting or you're gonna lie, which I don't really care which one you do. Do whatever is easier for you. I tell people straight up. But I mean, I gotta be honest, especially for people who are new, you're gonna get a lot of negative pushback. People are gonna tell you you're starving yourself. They're gonna call you stupid. They're gonna tell you to do some research. So it's important to have done the research, to have a strong foundation and understand what you're going through, why, and how to deal with all of that stuff. So um, once you have so in order to kind of work fasting into your lifestyle, right? there's different types of fasts. This is just kind of an overview. We're not going to go into super detail with this, but there's different types of fasts. There's purists out there that will say that if you're not doing um, pure water fasting, you're not fasting. Well, it's funny that I've heard purists say that because true fasting is actually not drinking or eating. That's true fasting. Uh, so for some of those who you practice religious fasts, some of you are aware that true fasting is actually not drinking or eating. That's the reason why we call it water fasting, because it's fasting with water. So if you're the type of person who, you feel like you want to do the pure water fasting, I would say start with 1 to 3 days. Now, if you get to day one and you feel okay, you feel all right, go ahead and push it. And if you get to day two, go ahead, push it. Go to day three if you can, especially on your first trip. If you could do 3 days the first time you fast, that's excellent, because by 3 days, the body actually has an opportunity to start reaping some of the benefits of fasting. The thing about fasting that I think a lot of people maybe don't really understand is the body goes through stages. The very first stage is really draining. Like it's gonna pull a lot of the glucose, the glycogen, glucose, the sugar out of the blood, and um, it's like the very first thing the body does. It depends on the people, the individual. It might take 12 to 16 hours. It just depends. Um, and then it goes through these stages of detoxification. If you're fasting for 24 hours, there's levels that you'll never reach. So you always want to push to do the long-term fasting or prolonged fasting. Because like let's say you do 24-hour fasting or alternate day fasting, and that's all you've ever done, but you do it, a couple times a month or whatever. You'll tell people, yeah, I fast all the time, which is true, right? But there's benefits that you get on day 10 that you won't get on day one. Um, More notably, I've noticed that a lot of the emotional trauma and more of the spiritual healing comes after 10 days of fasting. So if you're new to fasting, 10 days might sound like a lot. It is a lot. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination when you very first start, right? The process is simple, but it's not easy. But you build your fasting muscle, and eventually it does become easier. Um okay, somebody was asking, why do some get leg cramps? I'm assuming that's like an electrolyte question. You're asking, why do they get leg cramps? Once again, it's part of the detox process. So what happens is when we consume inorganic material on a regular basis, which we do, we eat rocks and dust and all kinds of stuff that's it's not organic, right? It's not food. It's nothing we should be putting in our body. We ingest it all the time, whether on purpose or not. Dust, whatever. And on top of the fact that we're ingesting these inorganic materials, we're also eating toxic food and we're drinking toxic water. And so the body just simply becomes over toxified. And I've talked about this many times before. The biggest issue we have is over toxification. It's not that we eat a little bit bad here or there. It's that we do it so often that our body can't keep up. So what happens is the body has to prioritize what is it going to deal with right now, because the body's goal is always to keep you as healthy as possible and to promote staying alive. That's really what the body does. So it's going to prioritize. So what it'll do is, if it can't deal with the inorganic materials, it will actually put it in your muscle tissue. It'll put it in your joints. It'll put it in your eyes. It'll put it wherever it needs to do to get it out of the way for the time being, while it takes care of whatever it is that's more important, that's more life threatening, if you will. And then when you start fasting, what you're doing is you're not constantly putting garbage in your body. So the body has an opportunity to start getting to some of those things that it put off, right? It stored it in your flesh and your tissue and stuff. So now that you're fasting, the body can extract that stuff out. That's going to cause muscle pain, discomfort, joint pain, cramps, because you're literally extracting microscopic rock particles out of the flesh and stuff. Like, it's not going to be the most beautiful, lovely experience all the time. Some people have more than others. Some people's bodies store things in certain areas. Sometimes we damage our body, like we might break a leg or bruise something or whatever, and you might see a large cluster of this material in one place. um, so that's one explanation for why you might experience leg cramps or pain. Another explanation for, and once again, these are general statements because I don't know exactly what's going on with you. I would have to talk to you one on one. It would take a lot of we'd have to go deep. But uh, one of the other big ones is dehydration. And I actually hear this a lot about, like, when people fast. I just heard someone talking about how they were doing a dry fast and their urine was really dark, and I don't know, I can't remember if they were nervous about it or if they were just pointing it out, but it was dark. And the thing about hydration is, you can't tell how hydrated you are by the color of your pee. I know we're all taught that, but what you're actually doing when you're looking at the color of your pee is you're just seeing how much water is in your urine. That's really all it is. And I'll see if this makes sense to you all. So, like, I could go to the bathroom right now and I could pee, and it'll be, let's say it's a dark yellow. I could drink a gallon of water within the next hour and a half, and my urine will be clear. Does that mean I'm hydrated? No, it just means I have an excess of urine or water in my urine now, or more water in my urine than I did before. I didn't hydrate that fast. It doesn't work that way. True hydration happens intracellular on an intracellular level. So what that means is the water has to actually penetrate the cells. The biggest issue that we have, and the reason why when you start water fasting, you might experience some of these pains, is because we're dehydrated and we're not getting water in the cells. So one of the reasons why I teach you all about sun water and energizing your water out, naturally alkalizing the water, is to break up the large water molecules so that they can actually penetrate the cells and hydrate properly. Um, okay. So, is heartburn a common symptom? Yeah, heartburn is very common. Heartburn, acid reflux, uh, burping. This is well, this is for a lot of you guys who are new. You're asking these questions because you don't know. You probably haven't had an opportunity to do the research. It's super common. I hear it all the time. People ask me all the time, "How do you stop heartburn? How do you stop vomiting and stuff like that?" The thing about it is, what I find the most challenging is three people can be vomiting, on their fast, and it could be for three different reasons. It's hard to pinpoint, and I don't really try to pinpoint what's causing you to vomit on your fast or what's causing you to have heartburn on your fast. What I do is I use an approach that just fixes the problem no matter what it is. So if you're having a lot of heartburn on your fast, or if you're having a lot of vomiting on your fast, or a lot of belching on your fast, or whatever else that you're dealing with, and you can't really figure out like how to combat it, you need to start with what you're eating prior to your fast, right? So this goes into prep work. And I know a lot of people will say, well, I've prepped for a fast and I still have these issues or whatever. Prepping doesn't necessarily mean the 5 days or the 7 days before you fast. Prepping could mean you need to change your diet before you start fasting if you want to fast without experiencing this stuff. So, like, for example, there's certain things that you could eat, an individual can eat, that will make them have heartburn, right? We all know that. You could eat something, or you could eat, like, for example, some people eat beans and it gives them gas. So what you need to do is you need to start being aware of what are the things you're eating that cause you to have discomfort. Now, I've got um like a couple rules of thumb, especially when you're very first starting with water fasting. If you start increasing the watery fruit, that's going to help a lot. So, number one, you can reduce the amount of meals that you eat prior to fasting or just in general. If you're used to eating 3 to 6 meals, reduce that down to 2 meals. If you could do 2 meals a day with maybe like some fruit juice in between meals, that's a great way to get started. People ask, well, what can I eat? What should I eat? The interesting thing about it is you can actually start to the detox process or the process of healing just by changing the frequency, how you eat. And I actually think I'm going to be putting out a video this Sunday where I go into more in depth about that. So if you guys are interested in hearing more about that, I'm going to do the video for Sunday where I'll talk about how you can eat differently. But it doesn't necessarily have to be this drastic change to your diet, because I know a lot of you all are new to fasting and this whole lifestyle. So it might just be better for you to try changing the frequency that you eat. So reduce the meals down to 2 a day, drink fresh squeezed fruit juice in between, and just start with that. It doesn't have to be 5 days or 7 days before you start fasting. Maybe you need to do that for a month. What it'll do is it'll give your body an opportunity to gradually start the process of healing, versus with fasting, you're just kind of jumping in head first. And it's not bad, but sometimes people experience really harsh detox symptoms, and that discourages them. It scares them. Their friends start getting to them. They want to run to the doctor. And so it becomes something that it shouldn't. So if you're that type of person, or if you're experiencing really, really harsh symptoms when you fast, do a lesser fast. You could try juice fasting. If that doesn't work, you still get the same symptoms, try smoothies. Try doing smoothies instead of doing fasting. You're basically digesting, you're starting the process of digesting the food before you put it in your mouth. If you find that smoothies don't work, you can alter the types of smoothies you're doing, or you can even try a fruit fast, which has been very, very popular. A lot of people have been talking about it recently, the watermelon fasting. I'm not going to get super duper in depth on the watermelon fasting, but I did do a video where I talked about mono fasting, which is essentially what melon fasting is basically where you pick one food item and you eat that. Typically, you want to eat something real, so like real food, so fruit, and then basically, that's all you would eat. You don't have to eat large quantities of it. You're not trying to get 2,000 calories of watermelon. It's just as you go through your day, if you get hungry or during your meals, you would just eat watermelon instead of eating the hamburger and fries or whatever you would typically eat. And that will certainly start the detox process. And you should be okay. You shouldn't have to worry about the vomiting and all of that stuff. So if that's you, that's probably the best advice I can give you right now. There's some tricks that people have that, seem to work for some people, don't really seem to work for others. I'm not really big on repeating a lot of that information because it's not consistent. And I really want to put out information that's consistent for you all. So you could certainly try those things. Has anyone ever fainted while fasting? Yeah, actually, I just spoke to someone who fainted yesterday or something like that. Here's the thing: when you fast, your blood pressure can go up, it could go down during a fast. Let's say you fast for 10 days, your blood pressure can go up and down. Okay, so when you're fasting, you always have to be aware of how you feel. Uh, a lot of times we want to encourage each other to keep going, push through it, things like that. And I understand that. But as an individual, you have to be responsible for your own wellness. And you got to know when enough is enough for you for right now. Right. So fasting is safe for everyone when you understand what's going on. This is, part of the process of learning. Um, Blood pressure pretty much just drops for everyone who's new to fasting. It's just common. Now, some of the older fasters, you may experience, see that you don't really get that issue anymore. My brother John, when he does his fast, he works out. he works out on his fast, and he does long fasts. He'll do 10 days and he'll work out. Everyone can't do that. Everyone's not ready for that. Fasting is kind of like a muscle, so you need to build up to that. But you need to understand what's happening. Fasting doesn't cause your blood pressure to, go up or down. What it does is it starts the process of healing. So if you've got plaque and stuff in your arteries, the body's going to start handling that stuff, and you might see the changes in blood pressure. You might also see the blood move from the outside of the body towards the center of the body. So you might start getting cold on the outside of the body, because the blood is your nourishment. It's your life fluid, and it collects where the most healing is taking place, where it's needed. And so you might get cold. That's very common, that people get cold on fasting. So now you might understand that a little bit better. Um, I mean, there's an infinite amount of detox symptoms, and um, it's impossible for me to tell you all of the symptoms and exactly why all of them are happening. The thing you need to understand, I guess, is that if you let's say you're typically a warm person, and if you're fasting and all of a sudden you're cold, it's probably because of the fast. Now, why your body is doing that, I give you one explanation for it. There could be more. That's something else, right? But everyone might not have an answer for you. I might not always have an answer for you, and I don't really like to pretend like I always have the answer. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I don't know things. But what I do know is that fasting is not dangerous, especially if you just do it properly. So if you feel like, let's say you stand up really fast and you feel a little faint, right? We've all stood up too fast, and you could feel a little faint from standing up too fast. Sit back down. One thing too with fainting, if you got to be careful about like hot showers. I don't know why. It's probably a pressure thing, but with hot showers, it could tend to make you feel faint. So when I do my fast, especially my long term fast, I actually don't like being in the shower too long, because my body is ultra sensitive, and I can. This is gonna sound crazy to some of y'all, I'm sure, but I can feel the chemicals in the water. So it affects me. I'm more sensitive. I just don't like being in the shower. Actually, because of my experiences with fasting and taking showers, I've actually reduced the amount of time I spend in the shower now. I'm not in the shower for more than 5-10 minutes now. Whereas before, I would take a 15, 20. If I really feel, like I need it, 20-minute, 30 shower. It depends on the heat. Sometimes the water runs out. But now, if I can get in and out in 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes max, if I really feel like I want the warmth of the soothing water. But other than that, I get out quick because our water is full of crap. And I did a video where just briefly went over some of the stuff you could find in water. But when I researched our tap water that we think is so lovely and precious and wonderful, you can find anywhere from 80 to 200 different chemicals in the water. And if you're using tap water, there's chemicals in your water, and they're not good for you. So, and they're in large amounts. And you can also find pharmaceuticals in the water. People flush their drugs and stuff down the pipes. Yeah, I mean, this is all kinds of stuff, all kinds of stuff. The treatment, that the process that the water goes through to treat it, is not a natural process, and they're not even trying to mimic a natural process. So the water is really, really contaminated, and it just gets recycled. So I keep my showers to a minimum. Furthermore, especially when you take hot showers, it opens up the pores. You absorb water more readily. I can't remember the statistic anymore now. It was so long ago, but it was like 2 cups of water you absorb in a 15-minute shower. I think it is something like that. Might be more. So imagine absorbing 2 cups of toxic water right into your body, because the skin doesn't have the bacteria like the mouth does. So it's actually a little bit more hazardous for it to go into your skin like that. And then that's also why you'll get out of the shower, you feel dry, and you have to moisturize. It's like you have to revitalize your skin and stuff. It's because of the toxic water. Some people say it's hard water, but it's like it's all kinds of chemicals and stuff in the water, and also inorganic material too. So let me see if I can grab one more question here. Is hot or warm water better to wake up the body. That's interesting. All right, so real quick, when I very first started studying water, I would hear what you probably have heard. A lot of y'all have probably heard that temperature better water is better for you. Here's the thing. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that. Now, I do drink room temperature water, but that's not because I think it's necessarily better for me. I drink it because that's just how it is. The process I take my water through, it sits on my windowsill, so it stays at room temperature. And I want to keep my water in a particular state as much as possible, in an energized state as much as possible. So I leave it on my windowsill. But I also found out that there's this thing called exclusion zone water, which is also called I think it's called H32. It's pretty much it's like a fourth phase of water. You know how they say water, solid, liquid, gas. There's a fourth form of water, and it's a moving form. It's alive. It's just a complete. It's different. It's different. Definitely do some research on that if you guys haven't already. I'm not going to make this video about that, but one of the researchers found that when you got water at a particular temperature, it became this exclusion zone water, this fourth phase of water. I want to say it's around 32.7 degrees, something like that. It's like right before freezing. I can't remember exactly the temperature. I could be getting it confused. It might be 34 degrees. But and that's really cold water. Here's another observation, and this here's the thing with the way I learn, the way I educate myself. So I pull information from many different sources, as many as I can, and then I compare, all the information, and then I add in my own observations and my own experiences. So when I'm learning about water, I'm also thinking about how I've experienced, like, I don't know if any of y'all live in places where the water is really like nasty tasting. Like you could just taste it's really, really nasty tasting. But what I've noticed is if you put water in the freezer or in the refrigerator, you get it really, really cold. That nasty flavor, that taste kind of goes away. You can't taste it as much. And I just thought it was because cold water numbed the taste buds. But now I believe that when I started learning about this easy water, um, I believe that it's because the water actually shifts and it changes. And what happens is the negative stuff in the water become nullified to a degree. This is not really doing it justice. I can't really get into it too much about because it kind of deserves its own video. But um, the water can in certain instances nullify the negativity, whatever it's chemicals or whatever's in it. It can kind of nullify it, and I kind of experience that when I drink cold water. So I can't really say cold water is bad. I drink tap water though, or not tap water, room temperature water. uh I like it. Okay, so if you're interested in learning more about water fasting and you're brand new to it, I got a couple different places for you. Number one, here on YouTube, I've got a playlist called Fasting 101. I've taken pretty much all the videos where I'm teaching about water fasting. I put them into one place. It's a pretty extensive playlist. I don't know if it's a couple hours worth of I'm sure it's a couple hours worth of video in there, but you can kind of go through there and you can listen to those videos and you can learn, right? I also have a website, a healthyalternative.org, where I've written articles and I've got blogs where I talk about water fasting and things like that. Now, I've had those things available for a long time. I started getting asked for more concise information. And so what I did was I developed a platform where you all can literally, like from the beginning, start fasting. Like, let's say you don't know anything about fasting at all. You can learn from the beginning and you could learn how to be an expert or professional faster. So it's an academy I put together. It's called the AHA Fasting Academy. That's AHA fastingacademy.com. And um, It's basically it's our own community where you can go and you can learn the ABCs of fasting. Now, in addition to that, I've got it's I'm going to be adding more and more. One of the things I didn't talk about today, because it can be for beginners, but I don't want to give you guys too much information. But also the liver and gallbladder flushes. I do talk about the liver and gallbladder flushes on the Healthy Alternative YouTube channel. I've got a couple videos, but I also have it. I'm updating the Academy now to include the liver and gallbladder flush, and we go into detail about that. So that's another good way to get started getting healthy. If you guys are having issues fasting, if you're worried about electrolytes, if you're worried about fainting, if you're worried about detox symptoms, you can actually start by vitalizing the liver. I think that's a really, really good place to start. Probably the best place to start. Some might argue that the lymphatic system is a better place to start, but I think the liver, yeah, the lymphatic system too. You could do them both. But what that will do is it'll actually help your body detox more efficiently, and so you don't get the super harsh symptoms. So, let's see here. See if I take one more question. Okay, this is a big question, but I'm gonna take it. This will be the last question. All right. Can I talk about water fasting and blood sugar? I'm a diabetic and I'm wondering how to control my blood sugar during a fast, especially dealing with low blood sugar. Here's the thing. When you fast, if you're doing a pure water fast, your blood sugar is going to drop. It's going to drop. It's going to drop. Now, there's if you're nervous about it, because in a different setting at a different time, I would explain to you how fasting is really, really good for you, and the blood sugar, while it's important to monitor, might not be as big of a deal as you think. But this is not the time and place to do that. So here's what I'll say. Tart cherry juice is great for those who are diabetic, you type 2 diabetic, and you want to fast, and you want to, you're monitoring to your blood sugar. You could use tart cherry juice. Studies have actually shown that tart cherry juice actually aids in reversing type 2 diabetes. So you can incorporate tart cherry juice with your fasting to help you out if that's what you need. But um, if you're interested, I do consultations. You can set up a consultation on healthyalternative.org, and we could talk more about it in private. I really am careful about giving too much general information about diabetes. People tend to kind of get upset about it, but all I could tell you is I've helped several people heal their diabetes, and there's a lot of misinformation about diabetes out there. So, all right, y'all. Don't want to make this one too long. I actually planned on doing 30 minutes, but here we are, 45 minutes later. We had some trouble getting the video started anyway. So, check out the website, healthyalternative.org. Join the Facebook group. That is a great place to stay motivated. Document your journey. That's a big part of when you very first get started with water fasting. I've actually put together these fasting journals for you all. So if you're interested in just having something that's, a little bit more personable, and I've also included some guides in there for you to help you along your way. I've got these guides, the fasting journals available, but documenting it, journaling, recording it, it all helped me a lot. And it's one of the steps that a lot of people skip. They don't think it's not necessary, it's not worth it. It's worth it. If you haven't tried it, you haven't done it consistently, do it. Try it. Just try it. We've also got the AHA Fasting Academy. Like I mentioned before, that's AHA fastingacademy.com. And yeah, I mean, we're on Instagram too, a.healthy.alternative on Instagram. Check us out. Thank you all for your time. Hit the like button if you like this video. If you haven't already, subscribe. I release videos 10:30 a.m. Sunday. That's Central Time, 10:30 Central, every Sunday. So, and every once in a while to pop up and do a live. Make sure to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when I do pop up. And I will see you guys next time. I'm out of here.